Aaron Judge. 2 for 15, no home runs, 1 RBI, 6 Ks this postseason. 0 for 2 with an RBI and a walk in Game 1, but came alive in Game 2. Bottom of the 7th, Judge. That's a 2-run homer to extend the Yankees' lead 6-2 and put the game out of reach as they went on to win by that score. This marked his first home run of the postseason, his first of his last 10 postseason games, marking his 14th career postseason home run, by the way, 5th most ever in Yankees history, and just one shy of, you might have heard of this guy, Babe Ruth. He finishes day 1 for 3 with 3 RBIs. The Yanks go on to take Game 2 to go up 2-0 in the series over the Guardians. And we're now joined by former longtime MLB manager Bobby Valentine as the Guardians had the Yanks sweating for a little quick second, but then their superstar, he showed up. A lot of pop-ups from Judge early in this postseason seemed to be off a little bit, I think I'd say, but he got that 2-run homer in the bottom of the 7th, his first of the postseason. With him getting that monkey off his back, does that spell trouble for Cleveland?
Kiana, you are spot on. Yeah, they were throwing him high fastballs the whole series. Actually, for the last 3 weeks, he's swinging underneath them, popping them up or hitting them foul. He finally got his hands up high enough to catch that one, hit it 400 feet. As you say, take the gorilla off his back, and now he can move forward. I think that was the final piece the Yankees needed to start to think about being the type of team that could be a world championship team. You can't keep playing games when your superstar is the anchor you're dragging through the mud. Now that he's out of the mud and feeling good about himself, and that's a tough pitch that he hit right there, folks, and he hit it textbook style with his hands above the ball and the barrel of the bat coming up to meet the ball. Aaron Judge is now a guy who can relax on a plane flight, have a good off day, and probably come back and start hitting home runs in bunches.
Yeah, I'm certainly not just the team, but the fan base excited to see their superstar come alive. But defensively, I want to get your thoughts on Gerrit Cole's outing. I know we talked about how effective he was with that inside fastball. Maybe got into a little bit of a jam there in the 5th. But overall, what were your impressions of Cole's outing?
Well, I thought it was a good outing, but, you know, it was like a plus for the Guardians that they actually got him out of there before the 5th. He's pitching with a lead. He's the ace. He's supposed to mow him down through 7 innings. Now it's 4 1/3, and the bases are loaded at stage left for his exit. And, you know, when Holmes comes in and gives up 1 run with a ground ball and getting out of that jam, you know, that was really a great job. Then Hill coming in after Holmes, I got to say, is the foundation for the bridge that was laid to get to Weaver. And that was a great job by Aaron Boone in mixing and matching.
Yeah, I want to dive a little deeper into that because a big story of this game was the bullpen. But just what do you make of how these bullpens progress as the game went on, especially the Yankees being able to put out some of those fires that we saw earlier in this game?
Yeah, Holmes being used earlier than expected. Yeah. It's the 5th inning. The bases are loaded. There's 1 out. It's time to go high leverage, see if we can get out of this jam with just 1. And sure enough, he gets here, and he's the fireman. He's able to put it out with his great sinker with a strikeout with the bases loaded there. And he had a ground out that gave up a run, but that was nothing. And as you mentioned, Cole was great. He was intimidating. He was throwing inside fastballs, but you have to give a plus to the Guardians. As I said, they weakened him, and then they got a notch against Weaver with a home run. So, you know, it's not all bad for the Guardians except for those timely hits that have been their signature all year long.
I love that nickname, by the way, the Fireman. But let's talk more about those Guardians, because I feel like even going back to Game 1, they seem to start off slow, shooting themselves in the foot, especially with some of those miscues and those mistakes, but not really playing with maybe that urgency that I think we'd expect them to come out in the ALCS. But did they maybe miss their chance in this series, especially considering leaving so many men on the base?
Well, you're going to stay up at night wondering what a bloop would have done, how the game could have changed with just 1 small hit. We call them big hits, but they're not big and long. They're big in spot. And when you do it in the right spot, they get notched into the history books, and you're remembered forever.
All right, well, the series now shifting to Cleveland. Look, there's a lot of pressure on the Guardians now, who are now down 0-2 How do they combat what the Yanks are throwing at them?
Well, they have to take the little successes away from these two games and actually build on it. Be proud of how close they came. And I know there's no trophies for coming in second and being close or any of that stuff, but this still is a best-of-7 series, and there's a lot of baseball left to play. I just think the Yankees have that momentum, that their three big guys have all hit home runs in the first two games. Their bullpen has done well. They gave up outs on the bases, which, gosh, they've done all year anyway, so it's kind of their MO, but they gave up outs on the bases and still came up smelling like roses.
Yeah, absolutely. Yankees getting their big guys involved in these games now. Guardians looking to combat that going home for Game 3. Bobby, as always, it's great chatting with you. Appreciate it.
You're the best. Thank you.
And taking a look at the Yankees with the 2-0 lead in the ALCS all time. Well, in 3 of the past 4 winning. Not going home. Looking to close it out here, but heading to Cleveland for Game 3.